Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to our International Education Week event this afternoon. We're broadcast live from Seminole Campus, and we welcome all of those of you who have joined us on the Tarpon Springs campus, the Clearwater campus, and the St. Pete Gibbs campus. We will have this wonderful broadcast also available as a recording for those of you who were not able to join us live. My name is Ramona Kirsch, and I'm Director of International Programs at SPC. And it's our great pleasure to offer a variety of events this week, as you can see behind me, to celebrate diversity and culture and international events on our campus. Today, as you see, we have 3 different events occurring. One is here in the Digitorium, our wonderful diverse cultures and religious beliefs in China, which is a performance of wonderful magnitude and a lecture. The second event we also have is here on the Seminole campus with arepas being served and smoothies outside. Arepas are a wonderful delicacy from Colombia. That's a corn pancake, and then there's wonderful mango smoothies. We also have an event at Midtown, and then you can see Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have full slate of events, and this is not all of them, but I just wanted to highlight a few. So welcome to our campus, to our campuses, and to our international events. Now I'd like to introduce Confucius, who is the director of the Confucius Institute at the University of South Florida, One World. He and I have been working for months on collaborations, and this is our first one in which he will bring these wonderful performances here and talk a little bit about the Confucius Institute. And without further ado, please welcome Confucius.
Thank you, Ramona, for the opportunity to share our stories and our performing artists with everyone at St. Pete College. And the Confucius Institute is a partnership between University of South Florida and Qingdao University in China. And there are 3 things we do: providing academic support to the USF programs, community engagement through performances, lectures, and other events, and also support to the K-12 schools' Chinese language programs. And today we are very pleased to present to you the first complete performance of the Confucius Institute Performance Group. And we are going to have a number of performing artists. We have the musicians, and we have the musician and opera singer, and we have martial artists and acrobatics. So you're going to see a variety of the performances, and hopefully we're going to have more opportunities to share experience of this with you. And also after the performance, I'll give you a presentation on the diversity of Chinese cultures. And now I'm going to turn the microphone to our MC for today, Victor Flores. He's a graduate student from USF and also a Confucius Institute assistant, and he also speaks perfect Chinese. Victor.
谢谢，大家好。好，朋友们，这么多人来了，先想为大家非常感谢能来到这里和大家一起分享接下来的节目。So we really want to give our thanks to St. Petersburg College for allowing us to come over here and share with you guys a performance and lecture by yours truly, the USF Confucius Institute. And our first performance, as you saw up there, will be a couple, actually, a Chinese couple, Rui Yang and his wife, Wu Luo. And they're actually performing this erhu as well as guzheng. They're both graduates of the Shanghai Conservatory of Music, and they have both won numerous awards in national competitions. They also both have their own CD available, so you guys can check that out as well. Absolutely beautiful music. So they'll be performing 2 pieces firstly. The first one is called Joy and Peace, and it's basically about joy and peace. All right, so please welcome them to the stage. Thank you. All right, I'm just gonna, while they set up for their next song, I'm just gonna introduce this next piece. It's called Drums and Gongs in Festival. And drums and gongs are very typical in many Chinese festivals. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna use these stringed instruments to imitate the sounds of drums and gongs. Please enjoy. All right, while they're moving the instruments then, I'll just introduce our next performance is actually our friends from Mount Song Martial Arts Academy. So the three of them, the first one we have up is the Shifu, which in Chinese means master, Mario Salazar. He's been studying Chinese martial arts for over 20 years. And then we have Coach Megan Westerman, and she's been doing it studying martial arts since 1995. And the third one up is Joshua Reyes, who has also been studying Kung Fu for a total of 6 years. So, please welcome them to the stage. All right, we're going to move these. All right, thank you guys very much. That was the Mount Song Martial Arts Performing Group. You don't want to mess with those guys. That was pretty scary. They almost actually killed a plant right over here. That was good stuff. They're fake though. It's okay. All right. So our next performance is actually modern Beijing opera. I don't know if any of you guys have heard this, but it's definitely very, very unique. And it's a song by our very own Lucy Liu, and she's not a movie star, but she was trained in Beijing arts, in Beijing opera, as well as music and the theatrical arts. So this song is called Ode to Pear Flowers. Please welcome Lucy Liu, everyone. right, thank you very much. Our next performance is the bamboo flute, called 笛子 in Chinese. It is performed by our very own Dr. Hu. He is a USF professor and director of optical oceanography. So he's an esteemed scientist at USF as well as an artist. He's actually been playing bamboo, how long? Since you were a young child, right? It says it somewhere here. Since the age of 9. So, yeah, it's been a while. So please enjoy Dr. Hu's Song of the Herdsman. It's a Mongolian.
Thank you, Victor.
right, thank you very much, Dr. Hu. I don't know about you guys, but when I was listening to that, I can imagine myself in the plains of Mongolia. I don't know if you guys heard that horse sound. No, probably not. I should have said that beforehand. Anyways, our next performer of the day is, you probably already seen her there. It's a little distracting, but we got an acrobat. Her name is Lily Riggs, and she will be performing plate spinning. She's actually performed this and various other acrobatic acts in many countries, and she has received many gold medals from international circus festivals. So please welcome Lily Riggs. All right, thank you very much. And now our final and last performance is our Erhu and Guzheng duo once again. It's Yang Rui and Wu Luo. If I didn't mention it before, you forgot your place, right? All right, so the first song that they're going to play for everyone is called Butterfly Lovers. So we will just get set up here and we will continue shortly. All right, almost ready. All right, let's give them a round of applause. Welcome. All right, thank you. Don't cry too much. I saw some people with tears in the audience right there. All right, the next and final piece that they're going to play is called Bind the Red Hair Ribbon. And it tells the story of this young girl in impoverished China in the past. And usually, I mean, they don't have enough money they only have enough money to survive. And the Chinese New Year represents kind of the only time in the year when they're able to get something. So it tells the story of a girl getting a red hair ribbon, and you know she's super happy about that because she never can get that. All right, so.
Well, thank you very much. I think the performance ends now. And as you can see, this is a very ancient Chinese instrument. It's about 2,000 years old, 21 strings. And that's Mr. Yang is holding actually two or three, actually two-stringed instruments, also very ancient instruments. So we just want to thank you for watching the performance, and hopefully we will see you again. And after the performance, I'll give you a lecture about the diversity of Chinese cultures and beliefs. So want to give the performance a warm welcome. Well, thank you. Thank you. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Do you need us to?
Yeah, we need to move down.
Okay.
Actually, I have this. Okay, now we're going to move to the next stage of today's event. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, leave it here. So I'm just wondering if any one of you have been to China? A few hands. And of course, everyone has heard about China and have read about China. for whatever purpose and on whatever topic. But I had a conversation with Ramona, and we want to present a little bit about Chinese culture. But as you know, I mean, China's, you can spend days talking about Chinese culture, and still there's no end to it. So I just want to focus today's topic on the diversity of the Chinese culture. First of all, if you look at, first let's just get a little basic information about China. If you look at this map, China is land mass is about the same as in this country, I mean as large as this country. And of course, everybody knows the population is about almost 1.4 billion, which is about more than 4 times larger the population. And as you look at the land mass, most of the Chinese actually live on the eastern part of China. And also, the majority of the Chinese who look like me and look like some of the performers here, they are called the Han people. And the Han people consist of 92% of the total population. Even though the minority is only 8% of the population, actually any number from China is huge. 8% of the population is 114 million people. So most of the so-called ethnic minorities, they live in these brown areas. These are mainly the Mongolians, Manchus, and the Muslim population. Most of them are here, and Tibetans. And here, there is one so-called autonomous region for the ethnic minorities in China. Most people don't know. Actually, they are the largest minority in China, the Zhuang people. There are 17 million, and that's one minority in China. So, and then when we look at this map, it's about the distribution of languages. It's quite amazing. Not to mention the ethnic minorities, they speak their own languages. Some of the minorities, they have different languages as well among them. But just among the Han, the majority people, majority population who look like me, they live in this area. There are many different dialects. Some of the dialects are similar. For example, like this Mandarin group, there are 3 dialects from the north to the south. They can understand each other, but there are still some different vocabularies. But some of the Han Chinese, they speak, basically in spoken language, there are different languages. For example, these people here in southeastern part of China, they speak, their spoken languages are as different as the Spanish to French to English, that much different. But there's one thing that binds China together, that's the written language. All Chinese, well, nowadays even including the young people in the ethnic minority areas, but mainly in the Han Chinese populated areas, all Chinese use the same written script. So when they read the newspaper, it's the same paper, but when they read out, they sound differently if they use the local dialect. So this is one major thing I want to emphasize, the diversity of Chinese culture. I mean, language is a very fundamental part of the culture, and there is a lot of diversity in China. This is something many of us do not know. Of course, you have other languages, Tibetan, Southeast Asian languages, and also some, Indo-European language as well, and Austronesian languages. So it's very diverse. Now, here are some photos, or maybe photoshopped photos on the left side about different Chinese people. On the top, they are images of the Han, the same ethnic group, but they look quite differently, as you can see. And of course, some of them are from the ancient times, the emperor's images. And some of them are pretty famous people in recent history or even currently, like this guy is the current president. And this is actually the president of, the past president of Singapore. And this is the reformer from China, Deng Xiaoping. and Chiang Kai-shek's wife, the famous Madame Jiang. And below is a group of images of the 56 ethnic groups in China, including the 55 ethnic minorities. Yeah, just by looking at the picture, you get a sense of the diversity of the people. And here is a little bit about the distribution of the ethnic groups in China. There are many large ethnic minority groups. The largest one is Zhuang, 17 million, and the second largest is the Hui. That's it's a Muslim population, but they're Chinese-speaking Muslim. And the third, Manchu, and then the Uyghur. Of course, we often hear stories from the media about the Muslim, the Uyghurs in Xinjiang Autonomous Region, and also Tibetans. But there are actually larger ethnic minorities in China as well, but we don't hear very often, including the Hui Muslim. There are many other fairly large. I mean, these are close to 10 million people, which is larger than many small countries in the world. And interestingly, there are some ethnic groups you can see from the red spots here. They are the Tonga-speaking people, like the Manchu, the Orotran, and several groups that lived in northeast China, but also in Siberia. But there is a tiny spot of them living here, and it's historically they were sent by the emperors to defend the border against the Tsar armies from invading China. So there is a kind of a lot of history that goes back about the ethnic minorities working as the defenders of the country. And here is a group of photos I want to share with you about the landscape in China. So what does this look like? Oops, sorry. That's the terrace view, the rice paddies, in southern China. And you have a huge desert in northern China, and these are rice paddies on the mountain tops in southern China. And this is also beautiful scenery in Guilin, where after you are there, then you'll realize why the Chinese brush paintings look similar to this, because they actually copied from the natural environment. And these are also interesting architecture in southeastern part of China. The Hakka people, they live in such structures historically because it became a fortress to fend off the robbers and the bandits in the ancient times. But nowadays they become spots for tourists. So the landscape, the natural environment also shows the diversity in China. As this map shows, if you look at the map, just about less than half of China actually is covered in green, which is the fertile land for agriculture. So when you think about this, the country is about the same size as the United States. And the landmass, they have more desert and more mountains in China. And they have 4 times the population. So it is a huge challenge just to really make the country move forward and to support everybody. So just the subsistence is a huge challenge. Of course, nowadays we hear a lot about China. Much talk about China is catching up with this country. But actually, China is diverse in many ways, not just the culture and the landscape, but also in economic development. There is a lot of development in the eastern coastal areas like Shanghai, but there is also a lot of underdevelopment areas in western part of China, like the picture show. Even as late as 2005, this is an official photograph, actually showing the poverty. Even though the poverty rate is going down, but it's still a huge number of people. It's like when you say 10% of the population, now maybe a little less than 10%, but that's a huge number. And here is also another chart I want to show you. The growth is, of course, very fast, percentage-wise. But the actual number is very small compared with the US. But this is in 2009. It is still under $4,000 per capita, GDP per capita. Now I think it's probably around 5,000, but still that's a small number compared with the US. But one good sign about China is interestingly, if you compare it with India or maybe other developing countries, is that China has, as you can see, from 1964 to 2010, especially the last 20, 30 years, a huge jump of the college graduates. There is a huge higher education attainment rate. And also there is a sharply decreasing illiteracy rate. These are good trends to move China to a higher level. Hopefully the human capital is most important, I guess. And also I have a couple of slides I want to share with you about the internet, the development in China about the internet. This technology changes also change the landscape and the culture in China. For example, in 1997, only about 1% of the population used internet. And by last year, more than 40. And it's still increasing at several percentage points each year. And when you have about half the population use internet, that's a huge number. That's 700 million people. More than twice the population in this country. So that's pretty amazing. And when you have that going on, there is a lot of cultural changes as well. So I'm just using this as an example. I just copied from The Economist magazine, a very recent report about the Chinese stream, online video in China. Look at this quote from the magazine. China's online video market is the largest and most innovative in the world. It is also the most competitive. And also look at the numbers. These are internet video providers in China. Look at the numbers. These are all the number by the millions. 300 million. Any number in China is huge. It's amazing. And this is a cover photo of a very famous Chinese TV show, only online, called Goddess Office. It's pretty amazing. Basically by the title here, the Chinese says, with the vitality of the youth, what else you can do? It's pretty amazing. And here is another slide I want to share with you that often we hear the story about government control and no freedom, no freedom in internet and all that. Well, it is true to a certain extent. Of course, they blocked YouTube and they blocked Facebook. I guess for their own reasons, they are fearful of maybe many other factors. But on the other hand, there is a tremendous amount of freedom. Also, among the Chinese, they have their own internet, web-based services. These are huge. If you look at these are all private companies. They run some of the large, for example, like Baidu has 100 million membership. And some of these are 14 million. All 40 million, 25 million. All these are privately run internet services and also social media groups, actually. And because of the growth of these social media, many corrupted officials actually are brought down because they post whatever they found, and quickly it got attention from the public, but also from the higher officials, so they could put a quick stop on this. Let me see. I hope I still, okay, I still got time, some time. So I want to share with you about the diversity of the Chinese religious beliefs as well. Right here, you can see all these signs. Basically, they they provide images of all the major religions in the world. And almost all of them exist in China, including, I didn't know that there are actually even followers of the Sikh religion from India. It is quite amazing. And of course, there are about 25 Muslims in China, and the Buddhists, that's the largest number of Buddhist followers are actually in China, hundreds of millions, because it's hard to tell exactly how many, because there is no registry of, for Buddhists, it's a relatively loose practice, so you don't really, it's not the same as Christianity. And Christianity is growing very much, very fast in China. And you have Jews in China, particularly during World War II. There were hundreds of thousands of Jews escaping to China. And here is an image, if you haven't been to China, this is huge. Like, look at these human beings. They're just very dwarfed, probably just as tall as the toe. This is in Sichuan province. It's actually, they were carved from the 7th century AD. And this is interesting. The Chinese belief system is pretty much inclusive. The reason I'm saying this is in many places, they combined several religions into one. For example, this is a Taoist temple shrine, but on the left side, and both sides actually, it says basically the ancestors or the saints of the three religions. The three religions are namely in China, Buddhism, Taoism, and a lot of people include Confucianism, even though some people say, well, Confucianism is really not a religion. And here is a big temple in Canada. It's built by the Taoist Tai Chi Society. And even the name of this temple is called Sanjiao Dadian, the Three Religions Temple. So just because of this, it really shows that the Chinese belief is diverse, but also quite inclusive. Of course, I want to show you a few slides about the different religious beliefs. Buddhism is, of course, the largest religion in China, but also in recent years, it is really being revived tremendously, including to the international arena. And I want to show you several slides about the Muslims in China. This is the largest Muslim group called Hui in China. They are Chinese-speaking, and probably because of the language, not as a tremendous barrier, there is less conflict. Doesn't mean there is no conflict, but there's less conflict between the Hui Muslims and other groups. But here we have the Uyghur. That's where you often hear stories about some of the tensions in northwest China. But even among these Muslims in northwest China, they are not the same. They are not all the same. In the Uyghur Muslims, they are Sunni Muslims, and we have a Shiite group in northwest China as well. And these are the Tajik, who speak Persian language. That shows some diversity as well in China, or even among the Muslim population. And here you see a few photos of the huge mosques in Xinjiang. And here is even more interesting. We have female mosques in central part of China. These are the Hui Muslims. Now, this is way towards the east central part of China. And they have mosques exclusively for women, and they are female imams. And here, one more slide I want to show you. All these three gentlemen, they are Muslims. They are Chinese-speaking Muslims. historically, they have played all kinds of, they made significant contributions to the history of China. Of course, this is the earlier guy, Zheng He. If you have read about history in China, he was the, what do you call it? Suddenly the word. The commander of a fleet into admiral, yes, basically, like an admiral. He was leading some of the earliest large fleet of his time in the world. Actually, when he led his fleet to South Asia and Southeast Asia and Northern Africa, that was several hundred years before Columbus. And his boat, his flagship boat, was 5 times larger than the Columbus boat. So it shows really how strong China was at that time. But after his time, China was really going downhill quickly. And then you have, this general from the Kuomintang Army General, Bai Chongxi, and also you have a vice premier of the current government in China. Well, not the current vice premier, but he was the former vice premier. So all these are Muslims in China, and the Tibetans. Even among the Tibetans, there are diversity as well. Not just between the Tibetans and the other groups in China, but also even just among the Tibetans. For example, religious beliefs. There is the Tibetan religion, very orthodox, Tibetan religion, but there's also a combination of the traditional Tibetan belief, that's the Bon Dharma, and also the folk religion as well. So the Bon religion is very much similar to shamanism, shamanistic practice. So I was asked to leave some time for questions and answers, and also maybe, well, if you have any questions, and also I think Ramona is going to, if you don't, maybe Ramona will have a question for me. Okay.
Thank you very much, Kunstler. That was wonderful. Thank you. If everybody could give him a hand, that was. I'm sorry we don't have more time, but I would love for us to open it to questions. Does anyone have a question that you would like to ask? So much diversity. I have a question, because the diversity I find fascinating. In the United States, as you point out, we often have to sign forms that say, what religion are you? And what you were talking about is that there's a very healthy and open blending of different traditions. And if you could talk a little bit more about that, how that works, are there any limitations anywhere that you see coming into that kind of practice?
Well, thank you very much for the question. I think I got that question quite many times before. Well, the Chinese religion comparatively is inclusive, but it doesn't mean there is no conflict. Whenever you have human groups and you have human beings, there's always some kind of a conflict when people of different cultural and ethnic background come together. And that's probably part of the natural process. But in terms of religion, the Chinese are maybe not unique, but at least compared with the mainstream society here is quite different. When I first came over, people asked me, when I came here 20-some years ago, actually, came to this country, people often ask me, oh, what's your religion? A lot of Chinese, actually like me, will feel puzzled by that question, because most of us probably don't belong to a particular religion. But I think most of us are very spiritual. Most of us probably will feel comfortable of going to a church, going to a Buddhist temple, going to a Taoist temple, and maybe some of us even going to a mosque. They don't find tremendous conflicts internally. And that's actually a healthy thing, I think, for if we're talking about multiculturalism and other issues. I think that's a healthy thing. So if they change the question, if they say, well, do you believe in anything? Oh, of course. Most Chinese believe in many, many things. Some of them may believe in their ancestors. For example, the folk religion in China is called ancestor worship. That's a very strong part of their folk religion. And of course, many Chinese go to the Buddhist temple, and they believe in many, especially the Sakyamuni and Bodhisattva and all the other spiritual beings for protection. And let me tell you one story, actually, since I've got this one question, that I want to share one story about my mother. When my daughter was very small, she was crying for a certain period of time. For whatever reason, she was crying quite often for no reason at all. And my mother was checking with the neighbors, and finally she said, I've got an answer. It's because this whole residential area is standing on an old graveyard. So the spirits is possessing this young lady's soul. So she was doing all kinds of things in order to relieve that. I was, using my rational mind. I was a little kind of laughing at what she was doing, but she continued to do it. She said, if you don't believe it, don't watch what I'm doing. She was preparing food for the spirits and trying to get my daughter's old clothing to a faraway place. So she believed that those so-called evil spirits will follow that jacket to the mountainside and will not come back to haunt her. There are many things that she did. At the same time, we also seek help from the doctors. So after a short while, she got recovered, and so both sides claim, She said, her method worked. So finally, I had to agree with her. I said, okay, well, I can't really, but one thing I know, which is good, that as long as she does that, maybe it has an impact on my daughter's health. But more importantly, because of her doing that, she's feeling better, and she is not depressed. Otherwise, she will be otherwise, if she can't do that, then she probably will suffer mentally and physically. And I have to take care of two people, who are not feeling well. So now, actually, she is taking care of my daughter, and eventually everybody's happy. So I think a lot of these traditional practices, they do have positive effects. That's my take on it.
Wow, thank you.
Question?
Any last? Yes, one question. Great. Okay.
When you're showing the map of China, did Mongolia belongs to China now? Or is part of China, Mongolia?
Well, the map we see is the so-called Inner Mongolia. There is the Mongolia Republic of Mongolia, which is an independent country.
Okay.
However, interestingly, since you brought this up, if you go back 40, 50 years ago, Republic of China, which controlled Taiwan, they actually didn't recognize Republic of Mongolia after a long time. Okay. Because the Mongolia became independent. It was after, I think, around the time of World War II, when China was weak, and many parts of China disappeared anyway.
Yes.
throughout history. So,
but Tibet is part of.
Well,
Tibet is part of China.
I think on the official map in China, but also on the official map of this country, Tibet is part of China.
It's part of China. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Is there one last question? Anybody?
Okay. One more question.
Oh, good. Great.
Hi, thanks again for coming. How did the religions, survive the Maoist era? We were under the impression here in the West that during Maoist, Chairman Mao communism, that religion was quashed and was put down, and yet it's obviously religion still stayed alive. Can you speak to how the religious climate was affected by the Maoist era? Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. I'm not sure if I have all the answers to this question, but generally speaking, I think there are two sides. One is Mao was very successful in doing many things, but China is huge. No one, no any emperor or, or Mao could, suppress completely anything. That's one. But the other thing is actually even Mao, during the heat of the Cultural Revolution, when religion was really regarded as the so-called superstitions, and that had to be eradicated totally, there were still many officials at the time below Mao who were arguing for the protection of certain sites. For example, a lot of the Buddhist temples and some of the religious sites remained, not totally destroyed. I mean, a lot of them were destroyed, but some of them remained because of the advice or maybe the efforts of some people below Mao. And also, even for Mao, it's interesting if you read about the history, he of course is very much an atheist, and he claims so. But there was one incident that shows how almost every Chinese has some spiritual side of it. During World War II, he actually sent 2 special envoys to the legendary emperor's burial site to pray for protection against the Japanese invasion. If atheist and praying for the emperor for protection, they are different things, right? So that also shows his spiritual side. So it's basically what I'm trying to say is nothing is just black and white in China. There's always a combination of different things, which shows the strength of the symbol. Everybody knows the yin and yang symbol, which is always changing and always trying to balancing out. There might be a little bit too much black on one side, but eventually it will come back and balance out. And that's, I think, is a very good indicator about the Chinese culture. And that shows how the Chinese civilization could survive until today. Otherwise, if it goes to the extreme only, it wouldn't survive. It would have been destroyed or disappeared.
Just one follow-up. So would you say that China's status today, is it still considered communist, socialist? Because they're pretty big players in the capitalist market. So how would you describe them today?
Well, I wouldn't argue that China is just one thing only. I think it's a country of many things. Well, in terms of capitalism, I think in practice, China is doing some of the things that you can imagine as capitalistic as possible. Really. I mean, in terms of, sometimes in certain industries, I mean, the accountability is just amazing. I mean, how they try to do things. And if you are not performing, if you're not doing things that you are supposed to do, you are out very quickly. And there's a line of people waiting for those positions, So everybody is really trying to work very hard. And that's actually part of the reason why China was, despite of all the corruptions and other concerns, could develop so fast in the last 30 years or so.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yes, all right. Thank you very much, Kun. And we'd all like to thank you again for being here. And it's been a pleasure to see the performances and get a little dose of Chinese culture and a fascinating lecture. I want to remind everyone outside, directly outside the door, there is a wonderful calligrapher where you can get your name or any name that you choose written in beautiful Chinese calligraphy, as we were discussing before. And of course, there's also food available. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Tarpon Springs, St. Pete Gibbs, and Clearwater Campus for joining us. I hope everyone gets another event in this week for International Education Week. Thank you very much.
And thank you for the opportunity as well.
Thank you.
If you are interested in what we do, just follow our website. We have regular events posted on our website.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.